to be a guest.
All right, everyone. It is time for a geek chat. I don't know what to call this thing. Maybe cosmic conversation, geeks of the round table, or something.
Geek Vision.
Geek Vision. Yes. Now, before we go in, I just want to make sure everyone saw the finale, right?
Correct. We all saw it.
Talking about WandaVision, right?
Yeah. That little show.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because spoiler alert, we're gonna go all in. Okay, so let's just start from the beginning. Now, one thing I love about this episode is that they didn't waste any time. They just jumped right into it. You know what I'm saying? They kicked off right where they left off, where Agatha said, this is chaos magic, Wanda. And Wanda's like, what the heck is that? And I know most people who don't even know about all that. They were like, what the heck is that too? And then Agatha did the thing that we've all been waiting almost 7 years for. We were waiting for that name drop. This is chaos magic, and that makes you the Scarlet Witch. Now, at first, I was like, so is the Scarlet Witch like a deity in the MCU now? Because, before they did the name drop, I was wondering how they're going to do it, because I didn't want it to be cheesy. Like, it could have gone in many different directions, but I was just hoping that it was done right, and I was not expecting that. But as soon as Agatha mentioned chaos magic, I'm like, please say she's a Scarlet Witch, please. And she did. And so now we're in episode 9, the finale, and Wanda's like, I don't know what Scarlet Witch is, but let my kids go. And Agatha's like, okay, I'll let them go. Just hit me with something. And then we find out Agatha's main ability is being able to absorb the abilities of undeserving witches, as she's called them. And Wanda didn't realize that until it was too late. So it starts off with Wanda hitting Agatha with one of her Aurora spheres, I think they're called. And then they get into a brawl. Wanda hurls a car at her. I think it was a Buick, right? Was it a Buick?
Was it red?
Yeah, or Scarlet. Yeah.
They all had connected plates, but it was a New York town. That's what I loved.
Yeah, it was.
Did you ever notice that? Like, it was all Connecticut plates, but it was Westview, New York. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on with that? But it was interesting though that the car that they chose for her was like scarlet red, and I thought it was clever when Wanda hurled the car at Agatha, since she couldn't use her powers on Agatha directly. But then we get a bit of a Wizard of Oz moment when Wanda walks into the house, all she sees buried underneath the rubble of the house in the car are Agatha's boots, because we all know by now that Agatha's the Wicked Witch of Westview. But then we also get another Wizard of Oz moment when, in the reflection of the window, in front of what's her name, Wanda, we see the Tin Man appear, and it's none other than White Vision. Now, Brendan, when you saw White Vision, what did you like? Did you pretty much guess that he was going to pretty much try to kill Wanda, or try to charm Wanda before he tried to kill her? And did you pretty much guess that Vision was that the real Vision, or the Hex Vision, was going to come in and try to save the day?
Yes, because that had been led up to the previous episode, and he didn't show up. So yes. I don't want to break the end because you're building up to that, but this has been written very well. That part wasn't.
It's kind of predictable.
It was a surprise last episode, but that was actually the worst writing of the show.
Oh, really?
I knew they had to create a way to make Vision live, because you can't have Quicksilver and Vision dead in her world.
Yeah, that's true.
And now Vision is very much alive. Very much.
He sure is. Now, Andrew, I'm pretty sure you knew about White Vision.
That touch was all the memory, and Vision knew what the real Vision that was in Westview, because he actually was real, according to the memories, showed the White Vision who he was, and that whole Greek play on the ship thing. I mean, that was the good part of the writing, but like, I knew it was coming. This was to create Vision back again in the MCU. Like, it was. That was what it was. I missed on some other things that I thought were going to happen.
Yeah.
It's cool, actually, because they met us guests, but like the Vision part was too obvious. It was obvious from the beginning, and it really actually pissed me off because I actually thought she had the power to bring him back, and that wasn't the case. So that irritated me.
Yeah, Andrew, did you feel the same way? Like, were you upset with how they brought White Vision back, and was it really predictable what they did with him too?
I wasn't upset really. I mean, I too thought that she brought him back. I was hoping that she found that ability, and then with Quicksilver there, I thought that she brought him back too, and then finding out that he was just some guy that was just recasted as him was kind of a letdown. With Vision, that was a curveball to me, you know. But then when I saw him land, I assumed that he was going to be some form of Ultron. That's what I thought.
Oh yeah.
You know, I thought, because it's still not clear what he did to him, what he did to Ultron when he fought him last. So I thought with the Mind Stone gone, that would have been Ultron's body, his turn to come out. But that wasn't the case.
That's a good point. So, that's a really good point.
Yeah, that's what I assumed, but it wasn't the case. So now, like you said, we have Vision back. But is it Vision? We don't know.
I guess. Well, that was the question that they both posed to each other in the library. Now, Jameel, when you saw Vision like appear behind Wanda, and then Wanda did one of those soap opera turnarounds where she was like, you know, like was it pretty much predictable to you that he was going to pretty much try to kill her and then try to go after the Hex Vision? We'll call Wanda's Vision the Hex Vision, and then the White Vision. Because I think one of the characters called him Hex Vision, or maybe I saw that online or something. But just to distinguish them, we'll call the Color Vision Hex Vision, because I guess if we call them colored, it's kind of sounds a bit 1960s.
The Colored Vision.
All right,
the Colored Vision.
Well, my first thought was,
I know this is a Zoom, but I'm going to get slapped 3 ways from Sunday. So.
My first thought was
nope, not me.
Oh shit. And my first thing was like, I thought he was at first he was just gonna straight attack her, like she was gonna get tag team, because I was trying to figure out what was I didn't know if Darcy and Hex Vision were still trapped in that time loop. Well, that loop where they couldn't really get back to the house fast enough. So I was like, oh shit, you know, it's about to go down. But one thing that I guess kind of bothered me, and well, not really bothered me, but just came up when you were talking about, is this the real Vision or is this not? And is Ultron going to come back? And I did think about if Ultron was going to come back, because with him not having that Mind Stone, because the Mind Stone makes him who he is.
Yeah.
And with that Mind Stone being shattered.
Wow.
And
good point.
I was kind of like, is he? I mean, he's got all the memories, and it's kind of like having a body without a soul. You can have all the everything about you, but if you don't have that little bit of part of you that makes you who you are you really that person, or are you just like an empty shell? And like, you can have that person physically there, but when their mind is not there, it doesn't, you know, are they really that person or not? So that was something that intrigued me from like after I finished watching it and I saw like White Vision fly off. I'm like, did he just fly? At first I thought he flew off and then he switched up his colors, and then I'm like, no, he just left, and they just kind of left it an open-ending story. So I don't know. I'm sure we'll see him again.
The order was to kill the Vision. And got memories. Is he not the Vision?
Yeah, that was the question that they posed to each other. It was a bit of a philosophical quandary in a way.
Philosophical question.
That was very smart.
Afterwards, because I was familiar with the story, but I wanted to be more familiar. And believe it or not, wow.
Yeah, I enjoyed that entire conversation.
That writing was good. That was very good.
I had to watch it a
That
couple
part
of
was,
times,
yes.
you know. Like I pretty much got the gist of what they were talking about in the library, but it was one of those things where they were talking so fast and they were saying so many things of quality that it's like, okay, let me rewind this and watch it again just so I can like fully take it in.
One thing that I thought too was when they were both talking, I thought that he was gonna assimilate himself into White Vision and then be whole again. That's what I also thought, but that wasn't the case.
Yeah, that would have been that would have been too easy. And then I think they wanted to do something to allow Wanda. Well, from what I gathered, that I think they wanted to do something that would allow Wanda to not have to be attached to anyone, so that she can kind of be alone and get to know herself and get to learn her powers on her own. Because if you notice it, all throughout the MCU, she always had somebody there to depend on, to lean on, and stuff. And so she never really learned how to deal with her emotions or just learn how to be by herself. And with someone like her, she's pretty much like Storm. Like they have to keep their emotions in check, or else so much can go wrong, as we saw pretty much in the town square. But before we get to the town square, they cut from the battle from the two witches fighting and the two robots fighting. They cut over to Agatha's house, and we finally learned who Ralph is. I said if they don't tell me who Ralph is in this episode, I'm never watching a Marvel show again. Of course, I was lying to myself, but I was like, are you serious? Monica found out that he's Ralph, and he kept her in his attic for a while. But I was a bit disappointed, and I kind of didn't want him to be. I didn't want Evan Peters to be the new Quicksilver, because I like the way Aaron Taylor Johnson looks as Quicksilver. But I thought Evan Peters did a better job, or he had more personality. But I thought it was just strange in that moment that, you know, we learn that he's Ralph. He's been Ralph this entire time, because I think probably like most of us, you know, I thought that Ralph was the rabbit and that Agatha just transformed him into the rabbit, because she called him Senor Scratchy, which would be like Mr. Scratch, and Mr. Scratch would be the father of her son Nicholas Scratch, and I was thinking Evan Peters was Nicholas Scratch. So I was like, he's Ralph? That was more of a letdown to me than the fact that Evan Peters wasn't Quicksilver.
Was this a case of this show having too many Easter eggs?
Yes, yes, too many Easter eggs.
Really
well, not too many Easter eggs, too many red herrings. Like they led us in too many different directions that never really had a payoff. And it was just, I'm fine with some, but it was just too much to me. Like, did you guys think there were too many red herrings too? Like way too many misdirects?
Well, with Marvel, I was talking to my wife about this. They are really good at dropping Easter eggs years and years in advance. So I trust them enough for them to give me an Easter egg, and it may not bear fruit until 3-4 years down the road. Then we're just kind of like, I understand what you mean. So I will trust them for now. But again, if they burn me, I'm done. But I'm not done.
If they burn you at the stake, right? Yeah, I think I love a good Easter egg, but it was the red herrings for me. I'm like, all these things that you guys put out there, like the aerospace engineer and stuff, like everybody wanted it to be Reed Richards. I personally wanted it to be Hank McCoy before he turned blue. But I guess they wanted this to be WandaVision story, so they didn't want anyone to kind of take over it. But yeah, so after they cut from Monica learning about Ralph and whatnot, then we see Jimmy getting out of the handcuffs and calling in the FBI so that they can be in here within the hour, as he prematurely promised Hayward, or threatened Hayward. So yeah, we get to town square, and Agatha is standing perched atop of a building, and she's telling Scarlet Witch. She's telling Wanda all about her destiny, you know, and she goes on to say, you know, the Scarlet Witch is born, she's not forged. I'm sorry, she's forged, or she isn't born, she's forged, and that her power exceeds that of the Sorcerer Supreme. Now, was anybody else surprised at that fact, or were you just more surprised at the reveal, the fact that they said it, Brendan?
This is where Whedon's Fantastic Four will come in. with the multiverse. Don't get me wrong, but this set her up to be the most powerful Avenger, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do it.
Yeah.
And it didn't take a movie to do it. It took a TV series. Great writing that way, but that one book missing in the library is now hers. And now, well, we won't get to the mid-credit scene, but
yeah, we're almost there though.
I know, I think this sets her up to be more powerful than Captain Marvel or anybody else. I mean, and I think they did that on purpose.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they did. But most of us have seen, most of us can distinguish strength from power, and to me, Captain Marvel is shown to be the strongest, physically strongest one in the MCU. Even though, Andrew, I think you told me in the comics, Thor is stronger than Captain Marvel. But in the MCU, they wanted Captain Marvel to be physically the strongest, and now we learn that Scarlet Witch is the most powerful. And I mean, I wasn't surprised, but I was surprised at that reveal by Agatha. And Agatha is all kinds of bad, but she knows what she's talking about. She's been around for like 3.5 centuries, so she's not going to lie about something like that. But I loved how they mentioned it, because I'm not even sure if Wanda in the MCU even knows who the Sorcerer Supreme is. But I really appreciated that, because it told us how powerful Wanda is, but it also reminded us of what her big problem is. And her big problem is what Agatha said a couple of times in this episode, I believe. She said, power isn't your problem, it's knowledge. And Wanda's always had a problem with being able to know how to use her powers, and to be, to have the emotional intelligence to be able to use it in a certain way at certain times, and not be governed by her emotions so much. Because when that happens, she created an entire hex and freaking kidnapped everyone. It was a nice reveal, but then we get a really nice battle. I'm sorry, we don't get a battle yet. We see Agatha undo the trance that Wanda has placed everyone in, and now we get to see Wanda face her demons in a way, all the repercussions of what she has done. And I feel like this was really, really needed. Like, did you feel the same way, Jameel? Were you happy that Wanda, that they actually showed Wanda pretty much being put on trial for the crimes that she did commit? And did you feel like she deserved it?
I actually felt kind of sad for her, because I think she was starting to realize, like, I put all these people through this pain. Like, I was going through all this pain because, I lost, the love of my life, lost my brother, pretty much lost any kind of connection any kind of emotional connection that she had. And she just realized, like, I put all these people through these pains, and now they're coming back for me. And she doesn't want to hurt them. She doesn't want to do anything to them. So she's having kind of like this, almost like another psychotic break, the one where she created the hex, and now she's kind of realizing, I hurt all these people. I don't want to keep pushing, pushing my views or whatever on them. I want to stop all this. But that was something that really my wife pointed out. She's like, man, I feel kind of sorry for her.
Yeah, it was. I kind of felt sad for it too, but it's funny when that was happening. I thought back to what happened in episode 7, the Modern Family episode where Wanda was speaking, and then behind the camera you hear Agatha say, do you feel like this is what you deserve? And I was like, I think it's what Wanda deserved. I didn't think she deserved worse than that, but she deserved to know what she really did, and she deserved to feel it. But once again, when Wanda gets really emotional, look what she did. Like, she just learned that she'd really done a lot of damage to all these people. Then she chokes them with her powers.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Did she build the house and then Agatha control her to control the town? Because it just seems really weird for me for her to all of a sudden do that. Like,
oh yeah.
Feeling that there was something else there, like, not that was a ploy, that was a manipulation.
Yeah, what I gathered from it was that when they say it was Agatha all along, I never felt like it was Agatha that made everything, but I think the only things that Agatha really messed up were the things that they showed us during that Agatha All Along little music video, little 1-minute music video. Because Wanda, as we see, Wanda created everything. But I believe that once Agatha drove in from Texas, I mean, not from Texas, from Connecticut, as we saw in her car's license plate. Once she drove over to Westview and flew into the Hex, she wanted to see how Wanda created all this. But while she was there, she was creating some mischief, and they showed us everything that she messed up. So I feel like maybe when Wanda walked down to Agatha's basement, maybe that was some kind of invisible portal into Agatha's lair, wherever it is, in some pocket dimension. Because if Agatha's from Connecticut, how did her dungeon get there? And you know what I mean, in New Jersey. So, but it's one of those comic book things where it's like, look, they will never explain this to us. We just have to roll with it. It's just not gonna make sense. Now, speaking of Agatha All Along, like Andrew, when you saw that, I remember we were talking and you said you really shocked me because you said that you didn't know who Agatha Harkness was, and I'm like, Andrew, you know everything. Like, how do you not know who Agatha Harkness was? But it's understandable because you said she was pretty much like a D-list character or something, or just somebody who you didn't really hear about too much. Yeah, like when you saw the Agatha all along thing, and then you realized that her name is Agatha Harkness, like were you like, who the heck? Like what did you think?
I had literally no idea. Like I told a man that I'm like, I don't know who this is. Like I was surprised by it. I'm like, damn, who is this? So I went and got my book, my encyclopedia. I'm looking, like it's not even there. So I don't know who she was. But when I talked to you, and as soon as you said white hair, boom, it hit me. I knew who she was. But for some reason, it's just a name you don't hear.
Yeah, so she's one of those side characters that we just, and she's never been like mainstream, but I only know about her from the cartoons and stuff from years ago. That's how I got to know a lot of these characters. And then of course we have Wikipedia, so I was able to do some research that way. Now was everyone singing the Agatha All Along song in their head for like a week, or was that just me?
Oh, I was. I saw a track version of
it for my professional friends. I can't talk about it, but it was fun, especially the Sparky spot where she
killed spot too. Yep.
Yeah.
I forgot how it goes. I don't even remember it. I forgot.
I
heard it once and it was just out my head.
One thing that kind of threw me off of that.
How much, like you said, red herrings did not really. Like, give us 2 or 3, not 1. And there wasn't really ever one. To be entirely honest, there was no Doctor Strange at all. Which we thought, because we know she's in the movie. They've confirmed that. There's no X-Men. There's no Fantastic. Like, what are we doing here?
I really didn't want any of those people to join in just yet or whatever, because then they would have overshadowed.
Just a tease.
Yeah.
What I'm saying, like. Yeah. Something.
I could see that, but who knows? In Doctor Strange Part 2, we may have a flashback where he's like, yeah, I saw, I heard about the anomaly that was happening in Westview, but I was too busy in like the negative zone or something, doing something.
But I think they did hint at mutants though. When when she told Monica her blood is changing or mutating or something.
Yeah.
They said something like that. So they hinted at it, but they didn't actually say it, because they don't know what it was.
That's where I think Doctor Strange will do it.
Yeah.
Oh yes, something's gonna change. But Jameel, you're gonna say something about the Agatha All Along thing. Like, it was playing over in your head too?
Well, it was playing over my head, but I think in episode 6, I think that was a Halloween episode.
Yeah.
Where Vision was trying to figure out like the end of the Hex, and then he saw Agatha sitting in a car just staring. And I remember when all the casting was coming out and they were like, oh, she's going to be playing someone named Agnes, and people were like, oh, I think she's going to be Agatha. And then we had, all these episodes up until this point, and kind of Vision, did the little mind touch. She kind of got out of her trance, which really wasn't a trance, and she was just playing us. I honestly thought, I was like, well, shit, that's not something that's going to happen. And then when after Agatha All Along came on, I was standing on my couch looking like, what the fuck is going on? I was so upset because my wife was like, I thought you said she wasn't gonna be anybody. I'm like,
yeah.
So it was.
That kind of threw a lot of people.
Yeah, because like when she first popped on, I was like, she's around too much, so she has to be somebody. But she had me fooled. I'm like, know what? Nah, she isn't nobody. She's just under a spell. But then it was her all along.
That's where I am. What about the kids?
Yeah, the kids. There was this long-standing debate all throughout the series, really, or ever since episode 4, I think. Episode 3, when the kids were born. Side note, I thought it was kind of funny and a nice nod to the comics that Tommy, aka Speedy, came out the womb first. You know, but it was it was. I was like, I see what you did there, Marvel. I see what you did there. But yeah, a lot of people have been wondering, and I guess now we got our answer. They've been wondering if the kids are real, but I think it's like what Monica said in episode 4. Everything in there is real, but then that kind of poses the question, like, what is real? And the Hex Vision and the White Vision, that's kind of like that's kind of what they touched on during their conversation too. Like, is a thing a thing because people say that it is, or if something is whatever it was and then it doesn't have his memories, like, is it still, like, am I still Terrell if I don't have my memories, or am I only Terrell because I have my memories? Like, am I just Terrell because you all say I'm Terrell? Like, how do I know who I am? And what's real? It's one of those questions that we ask ourselves a lot. Like, is this all that there is to reality? Is this even reality? Or are we in the Matrix? It was one of those things, but I always felt like the kids were real, and they were real enough, and I was hoping that their storyline or their part in the show would go the way that it did in the comics. Hope, at least for the most part. I don't think we'll be seeing Master Pandemonium walk around with Billy and Tommy as gauntlets on his hands and stuff. But we may. But I'd be very shocked, because this is a Disney production, so we don't know if they'll go that far. But they introduced witches, which I was kind of surprised about. Were you all surprised about that too? Like now we have actual witches in the MCU, and do you feel like it was done well, or do you feel like it was slightly cheesy?
I don't think it was cheesy at all. I think it was done well. It was done right. Like, it wasn't done too soon or too late. As soon as you heard about Agatha, it showed her story. So they did it at the right time. It wasn't cheesy at all. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Brendan, what about you? How did you feel about it?
I loved it because they had to redesign her character. So if they're going to do the mutant thing and bring in Magneto and everybody else, I do have powers people in it. And that was the good part of the writing. Beautiful.
Oh yeah, I love how they pretty much alluded to that in episode 8, where after they showed the thing about the bomb dropping, Agatha said, "Did you use a probability hex?" And a lot of people, they were like, "What the heck is that?" And but most of us know, it's just Wanda always has the ability to make things either go in her way or have the best outcome for herself, or place a hex around someone else or something else to make the worst possible outcome happen for that thing. And Agatha felt like Wanda did that to the bomb, and the worst possible outcome for a bomb is that it just be defective. And they were there for 2 days, and they were safe as kittens, as Agatha said. So I was like, ooh, this is a nice like retcon in a way, a nice way to bring mutants in.
And that's what I told my brother when they first showed them in Age of Ultron. Yeah, I was like, one way they could bring in mutants is Quicksilver and her. They survived experiments because they're mutants. Everyone else was just regular humans.
Because they got the X gene or something.
Everyone else, exactly. So I was like, that's how they survived. And then when they showed that, I was happy, because that's basically saying what I said. They survived because of the X gene.
Yeah. And if you think about it, like I just kind of thought of this a couple of days ago, where in Agatha's time, if you're a person with special abilities, you are going to be declared a witch, right? Now, that was like in 1693. So fast forward 300 years into the future, when we have Fox's X-Men on Saturday mornings come into play. In their world, they are just mutants. But if they were born in 1693, they'd be considered what?
Witches, yeah. Witches and warlocks.
Yeah, so that kind of begs the question that is Agatha really a mutant? Because we heard her say that her thing is her ability to absorb powers, the powers of the undeserving, as she calls them, but it's just absorb other people's powers. So what if that's her mutant ability, but then later she learned witchcraft because her mom and them were involved in witchcraft? And if that's true, then that's pretty much what happened with Wanda. She was always a mutant because she always had her probability hexes ability, but then she learned witchcraft, or the Mind Stone allowed her to just create things, and that's just some form of magic. You know what I mean? Like, what if Agatha's been a mutant this whole time, but she thinks she's just a witch? So, and what if that's explained later? It's something that really intrigued me, and I thought, like, wow, this is like, I see what you're doing, Kevin Feige. You're making us all do some homework and making us all just really just ponder and think about these shows, and I guess it's working.
Definitely is working.
Yes.
I know back in 2014, I think they kind of rewrote Wanda and Pietro's kind of background story, and they switched it up where Magneto wasn't their father, which I started to read a little bit more on yesterday. And I was kind of like, and I guess a lot of people are saying it's because Marvel was still fighting with Fox over some rights, so they kind of had to rewrite something so everything would flow a little bit easier through the MCU. But now that Fox has, MCU, ABC, Disney, the Mouse, whoever you want to,
Mickey Mouse,
now he's
I'm pretty sure they own my car. Just saying.
Oh, say it again, Brendan.
I said I'm pretty sure they own my car.
Yeah, they are, or they're about to. It's only a matter of time before Disney or Mickey Mouse, I should say, owns everything. But to your point, Jameel, I remember Kevin Feige got ownership of the comic books too. But before all that happened, when Fox still had the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men, I remember hearing that Kevin Feige made it so that the X-Men series kind of stopped, like, because he was trying to spite Fox. So he was like, look, we're not producing any more X-Men or Fantastic Four comic books, or they're not, or although those characters just won't be integrated into the Avengers storylines of the comics. I was like, man, these people are crazy. They're so spiteful.
They did that too when they did. I think they made Thor and the Asgardians as aliens now. When they did the whole Quicksilver and her aren't his kids. They made it as Guardians and the Aliens, I believe. I didn't see it, I didn't read it, but I'm pretty sure that's what they did.
Well, shoots, for Guardians 3, I think it may be called as Guardians of the Galaxy, but I doubt Star-Lord would allow that to happen. But in our minds, we're going to be like, oh, I'm going to see as Guardians of the Galaxy. I
actually saw something today that says the reason that Jane will become Thor because on planet Earth they have like a monument with Mjolnir like crushed where Odin died. And somehow she becomes Thor.
That's interesting. I know it's going to be a bit comedic because Taika Waititi. I'm not really a fan of his style, and I personally feel like he ruined Thor. He made Thor try to be like Peter Parker, but I know I can stand outside of myself, and I know that the general masses, you all like
it was great. I'm sorry, it was great.
Well, I know more people love it, and that's why it's sold. But I feel like he ruined Thor just like James Gunn ruined the Guardians, and Gamora never proved to be the fiercest woman in the galaxy. Primarily because they didn't have a good director. But again, I know most people love the way that the Guardians and Guardians Part 2. I love Part 1, but I didn't love Part 2. But most people love how Part 2 was done.
Part 1 was great. Part 2, I'll give you that.
if Guardians Part 2's writing, and you know, if the writing for Part 2 was just as great as the CGI was, it would have been amazing. But I just feel like James Gunn and Taika Waititi, their styles are not for me. But I'm talking all this junk right now, and I'm gonna be sitting up in the movie theater on opening night for both for Guardians 3 and Thor, whatever may come.
The biggest problem that Guardians had with number 2 was they weren't tied to a bigger story.
Yeah, they didn't like. I told Andrew after I saw it, like Guardians wasn't. It was so disconnected from the MCU. Like it really didn't affect any change.
Do it.
It was rushed. Yeah.
And like go away because that was okay. Yeah, we need to know who his father is, but that could have happened in Guardians 2 after Endgame. Because that would have made more sense.
Exactly.
Eternals, and apparently that guy was at least a descendant of the. Yeah, they botched that.
Yeah. It could have been done so much better, but I still like the characters and I like Mantis, but I just feel like it could have been done better. But it's all good, you know. There always be hit and misses. Nobody ever gets everything right in these movies, but for the most part, Marvel slays like what they did with Endgame. They made up for everything with Endgame. But speaking of Endgame, and in the finale of WandaVision, we are now in the Endgame part of it. We saw Wanda defend her family from Agatha. And Wanda found out about the Darkhold and the Scarlet Witch prophecy, you know, and then Hayward and his boys tried to pretty much kill the kids and kill Wanda, and luckily Monica came over and saved them, you know, and then Darcy crashed her car or her van into Hayward's armored car, and then we see the epic showdown between what happened?
Enjoy jail.
Enjoy jail. Now we know Hayward's not going to stay in jail for too long because he's a police officer pretty much, and they never really go to jail, not for too long anyway. And, you know, but also I feel like Hayward's going to be in the future. He's going to be one of the people. Oh, we lost Andrew. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
We're good.
Yeah. I kind of feel like Hayward in the future might be one of the people to lead the task to create Sentinels, because that's what I feel like he wanted to make Vision a Sentinel.
Oh.
Yes.
Even Nimrods.
Yeah, like Nimrod's the Scarlet Sentinel. I think that's what they call them. So now we're in the Endgame and WandaVision, and both of the witches are up in the clouds, you know, fighting and everything. And we think that Wanda's giving up her powers and just hitting the walls and stuff. And then we see that she took to note what Agatha told her in the previous episode. Yep. You know, in a given space, the witch who cast the runes is the only one who can use her powers. And Agatha was like, oh, damn. Wanda was like, yeah, lesson learned. And then we finally saw the moment that we've been waiting almost 7 years, because Captain America Winter Soldier came out April 4th, 2014. And at the end credit, the only end credit I think in that movie was when we saw the twins, Wanda and Pietro. So it'll be 7 years and about a month that, you know, that we finally get to see her become the Scarlet Witch. And I heard a lot of people saying, how come they didn't call her that before? But that's because Fox owned the rights to the name Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. So MCU couldn't use those names. They had to call them powered individuals or miracles or something like that. But we finally saw Wanda become the Scarlet Witch, and it really, really warmed my heart. Jameel, when you saw that, did it kind of wash the taste out of your mouth that the Dark Phoenix put in your mouth a long time ago? Because that's what it did for me. I'm sorry, both Dark Phoenixes. like were you like, yes?
I think probably about a week ago I watched Dark Phoenix, and I was just kind of like, hey. I watched, like, I heard it was bad, and I'm like, I'm gonna watch it because I need to watch it, just to watch it. But yeah, never again. But seeing her kind of become who she was, I was really hoping for a happy ending. And I was like, okay, she beat Agatha. Mm-hmm. You know, she realizes, you know, she's got all this power. I was hoping that, you know, things would turn out good for hopefully Vision. I wasn't sure what was going to happen with her sons or not, but when she donned on that dark red it gave me very Magneto vibes.
Yeah.
I just I felt like Sir Ian McKellen was just gonna pop up out of nowhere. I know he wasn't gonna show up, but I just seeing her, kind of fully realize. I was like, okay, maybe this will turn out to be to either come out to be a happy ending, or we're gonna get that ultra badass. I have all this power now. I'm going to do what I feel is in the right. I'm gonna do what I feel is right, and she's gonna start taking over stuff, and maybe even go House of M for a couple of things around the Earth. So
yeah,
it was definitely interesting.
Yeah, well, this was our House of M. It was more like the town of M, but this was it. Andrew, when you saw her turn into the Scarlet Witch, like, was it everything you could have hoped for, or was it even more than that?
It definitely gave me a Phoenix vibe, But first, I want to say I personally enjoyed the Phoenix, the second one, the Fox's Phoenix. I enjoyed it. It wasn't bad to me. All right, sue me. It was good.
I like some parts of it too. There were some parts that
I like that it was darker, so I see where they were going with it. But when they first started to fight, Jeremiah said she has no suit, so she'll lose. She was losing, and as soon as she got a suit, she was winning. So he said, "See, Dad, I told you."
It's the costume that makes the witch.
Yeah, he said she had no hero suit, so she lost, but she got it. She was winning. But when she turned to it, I loved it. The suit looks great. The coloring, it's not too light. The dark makes it good.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But people I saw on Facebook, they're comparing it to CW costumes, saying that it's
Are you
hard.
serious? What?
Serious.
I mean, with a costume like that, I believe you can either go one of two ways. It can either be really bad, like her Halloween costume would have definitely been bad, but because it was a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, it worked for the Halloween costume. But I when I saw her costume, I said, wow, and the way that they showed it materializing on her, Elizabeth Olsen is absolutely stunning, but she's one of these people that's like a haunting kind of beauty to me, like where they look beautiful and you don't know whether they're gonna kill you or hug you, and then when she tilts her head, like we saw her do it when she went up to the desk at Sword, she tilted her head, and we saw her we saw her do it in Endgame where all the females get gathered together and she tilted her head. Like, she looks cuckoo crazy when she does that. And I'm like, and I love the fact that I'm terrified of her, but I'm also captivated by her too, because she has this really magical kind of otherworldly beauty to her with these green eyes too. But it was, I knew some people wouldn't like the outfit, but I was like, yeah. Brendan, when you saw Brendan, like, did you did you get CW vibes, or were you just like, hell yeah, this is what I've been waiting for?
It's two things. Yes, it's what I've been waiting for, but it's also her embracing what she is, which she didn't know.
Agreed.
The whole point is like, that's the point of the show. So I'm okay with it. I think it could have been done better, but it is the point of the show. And I've got so many different options on what this could have been, like, and I hate to say this, I've been reading all day that, they did not close it out the right way. There were so many Easter eggs and so many paths that were led down, like Mephisto is not involved, which I actually like. Manu,
that we know of.
Now we know.
Right. Mutants, like, and there's just like, they let us down too many paths to not have a few of them, and that's what bothered me the most. If the outfit was the payoff, no, I'm not happy, but I get the outfit, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And yeah, I think that's probably going to be like everyone's main complaint is that there were too many red herrings and not enough payoffs. Like people are still upset about the aerospace engineer not being somebody of importance. We got like a no-named military sergeant or whatever, and it's cool. She got a job having speaking roles.
I mean,
yeah, but you know, I read this online that somebody said this, and it really made sense that that Kevin Feige and Jack Schaefer and Matt Jackman, the creators and directors and showrunners, they probably chose Evan Peter for two reasons. One, because they knew it would be really good fan service and it would get everyone talking. But two, they wanted us to see Pietro just as Wanda saw him. They wanted us to be like, huh? And you know, but then we just go with it. Like they wanted that for us too. But I think, and I think I get that. But I think this is just one of those things where it's like a joke that doesn't land, where it upset people more than it excited them. You know, people, you know, it's one of those things where it needs to work, and if it doesn't, people are never gonna let you forget that, Mr. Kevin Feige. So they just never.
It would be nice if he was actually the X-Men Pietro and Agatha was controlling him. Like that would have made more sense to me.
Yeah, and I think if they
pulled him from another verse, okay, and
that's what I was thinking gonna happen
to the next movie. That would have made sense.
Yeah.
See, I thought that's what was gonna happen, especially since we know we've got what's the new Spider-Man title, No Way Home. And you know, we're gonna have the other Spider-Man from the other movies. I'm thinking, hey, this could possibly be a little bit of a peek into the multiverse, and I'm like, this is gonna, we're gonna get something really, really juicy towards the end. But I felt like them just naming him, oh, his name's Ralph Boner, and I just felt like it was just kind of like, it's like at the end of the
listen, the guy of the international, Olympic campaign was named Dick Armey. So I mean, what's wrong with Ralph?
It's like Seymour Butts from The Simpsons. Can I speak to Seymour Butts? Freaking Ralph Boner. I'm just like, so now I'm wondering well, there are a few questions that I have before I get to the very end with Vision and Wanda. And I wonder if you guys have the same questions. Like